Hey folks, welcome to another episode of Forever. As you can see, I've got a couple of other smiling, peeking faces on the screen. I wanted to make Forever a series where I was collaborating with friends throughout the year in 2020, and that hasn't really worked out. We had the first episode just before CES, and Don, VRGAMERDUDE, was able to participate in that particular episode. And then the world changed unexpectedly, and we haven't had any real FaceTime with each other in person since then. I have gotten these really hip new shades, which I got at CES from the folks at
and let me say, you are rocking them. I mean, those are looking styling on you, E.
You look like from another planet right now with those.
I don't think they're really working for me. I also have this awesome T-shirt, Everything's So Colorful in 1995. That comes from a game that all three of us are in, actually. Pixel Rip 1995.
That is, yes.
And I've got this awesome background. It's a throwback to when I do this series by myself. That's also really not working for me, though. So we'll go ahead and get rid of that. Let's just have a quick conversation about more recent stuff that's going on. So this week is still officially Augmented World Expo 2020. I've been a member of the press for that event since Tuesday. Time we're recording this, it's Thursday night. There's another day tomorrow, but really the big thing that's being pushed tomorrow is just Tobii eye tracking, which I think we've all seen and we've all heard of. If there's any revelations from that, I'll probably be tweeting it out. But otherwise, it's a normal day. There's a award ceremony called the Augie Awards, which is their augmented and virtual and mixed reality award ceremony. And that's really about it. The conference itself has mostly wrapped up. I may try to get an appointment with HP and an appointment with Lenovo to ask a couple of questions that some folks have come to me and said, hey, if you have a chance to ask these folks, go ahead. I think I mentioned it on Tuesday. The way that this conference works is there are 4 sessions, the main session, and then 3 alternative sessions throughout the day. And those are all recorded and being broadcast via Vimeo. In addition to those, there's breakout sessions in Alt Space and Engage, and they tried to do in the Museum of Other Realities, but that didn't really pan out very well. And then there's a bunch of live Zoom calls. So when you go to a virtual booth, there are 5 or 10 people from that company on a Zoom call. It's a little awkward because usually you're joining the call and they're all just sitting there waiting for somebody to join the call.
I will say though, it's creative. The things that they've had to do to keep these conferences running in this day and age is very creative. So
I have to say props to the people that organized this conference and salvaged from what was supposed to be an in-person event somewhat local to me in Santa Clara, because it's been a really good experience. I've learned a lot about new hardware coming to the market, some of the new tools for augmented and mixed reality programming, and just kind of the state of the industry. The reason I brought everybody together today, though, is there was a big announcement this morning from HP, who have a partnership now with, well, they've had a partnership with Microsoft, but they also have one with Valve now, where they've kind of merged a bunch of technology together into the 2nd generation HP Reverb, which is the HP Reverb G2 is what they're calling it.
The Frankendex, yeah. So
the Frankendex. I
don't know. I'm going to coin that right here on your show. Yeah, the Frankendex.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very high resolution.
2160 by 2160 per eye. I mean,
it's impressive.
Well, and I got to say, I was very impressed with the the original. I mean, the original Reverb G1 is also an impressive 2160 by 2160.
Yeah,
but the resolution's not everything, man.
Yeah, and the thing that's interesting about it to me is it's like they took that reverb and they grafted on the Index headphones. It still seems to be on some type of a Velcro strap, as opposed to, I thought they were actually like putting that head mount from the Index on there as well. But it looks like that's not the case.
I think they retooled the back a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like the back is exactly like the one on the Index, but instead of having the knob on the back, probably to contain the coasts, they just like use two straps.
Yeah,
on
I
the
think
side
it's the same.
and
It's the same Velcroing that we've seen on from the original Oculus Rift CV1 design.
Yeah.
But it's an hard shell. The strap seems
it's a hard shell. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, so I'll be interested. One of the things that's hard with this particular expo is you can't actually try any of the stuff.
I know.
You can just see it and see pictures.
I mean, today in Hall Space, you could try it on. It was pretty slick.
Yeah. So
they were giving around this little headset, and you.
So I actually wanted to go to that. I didn't get a chance. I was going to jump in All Space.
So having been the only person to have it on your head, what do you think of the Reverb G2?
I think that it is pretty cool. It fit pretty well on my avatar. So
on your avatar, yes, your avatar enjoyed it a lot.
Exactly.
And the other thing that this particular headset has that has me curious is they've retooled the Windows mixed reality controllers as well.
Yeah, no, but I'm not gonna lie, they needed to. I mean, they really did, because they need to start to parody things like the Oculus Touch or the Index controllers or any other controller that's meant for gaming that's going to have your traditional A, B, X, Y setup. So, the original Index controllers, I mean, the original Windows mixed reality controllers have always just been poorly designed for buttons. I mean, there's just nothing there unless you remap that trackpad.
And those are the better designed ones.
Yeah, and they're supposed to be more ergonomic.
Yeah, the other are like.
There's still, though, to me, what I see though is still a wand that I'm holding in my hand, and I don't think that we're going to.
Yeah, the OG right there.
Yeah,
is that the Lenovo?
Yeah, this is the Lenovo. But even the Reverb, the Reverb.
Yeah, this one is the redesigned Samsung. This is the one from the Odyssey Plus.
That is the Samsung.
Yeah. So,
but I have to say something, because during the event, Alex Kipman, that is the creator of HoloLens, actually started to talk a little about the platform, and I thought it was very interesting, because it said with the first gen we focused on just understanding the market. So that's why they put a lot of buttons also to understand from the data like what people wanted. And they said the second gen, this gen that you're seeing right now, is more focused on comfort. So how long you can stay longer in the headset, you have better visual that are more comfortable, and also you have controllers that are better to hold, because they moved in the direction of how you were using the old controllers. And they said the third generation will be focused on human interaction. So that means that we're gonna start to see like, we want to give like a warm feeling of people in a way, like, if you move your eyes, probably you're going to move your eyes. I mean, it didn't go that far to say eye tracking and lip tracking and stuff like that. But you could understand that it was actually talking about having like more personality in VR, being able to be really in the metaverse. Because as I told you, I was expecting these events all around to be more like virtual reality and stuff. We're talking about augmented world expo, but at the same time we are on Zoom to do like events. Is like weird, but it makes sense, because it's still a little weird to be in Outspace at the end of the day as well.
And I agree. Yeah, I remember it was about 2 years ago. It was the first online conference, and it was actually in Janus VR. If you guys remember that.
Yeah.
And I got like a behind the scenes tour of it, and it was actually more like what Tyriel was talking about, and what I envision these conferences to be. I mean, come on, guys, we have these metaverse spaces now. I mean, set up your virtual, get you some developers in there, get a Unity thing built, and set up your virtual booth. Let us come to your booth. No more
Yeah.
Zoom calls. I want to participate in a Oasis style, metaverse style conference. I mean, I want to actually feel like I'm there, but just virtually.
That would be awesome.
Just
think
saying.
that,
And that's even back 2 years ago or 3 years ago, I think it was, when I was messing around with that first one that they were trying to do in Janus. That's what they were trying to accomplish. So.
And I think that in Outspace, they're starting to do it in a nice way because they really set up very well also the rooms and stuff.
Yeah.
So you're able to go around. The first event I did this week was with was the Microsoft event, the Build 2020.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That is the developers conference. And after the briefing, we all went to another room where people were just connecting, like, you're outside in the garden and you're all like, make little groups and of like 5 or 6 people, and you start to talk to each other, ask like what you're doing in your life, like what's your job and stuff, what you're working on.
It's the connection.
And that was amazing because you could really connect like you are connecting in real life. Something that with Zoom you can't really do because you always talk to on top of each other and stuff. Instead, there with positional audio, well, you know that I'm talking with a person close to me and not with the one 20 meters away. That I thought it was pretty cool. I was expecting a little more on this conference, but well, we had a little and little, I say. One
of the things that was interesting that came out this week actually was high fidelity. You guys might have remembered like the
Rosedale
VR world space. They've relaunched as a positional audio toolkit.
Really?
So it's a web-based product now, and you can make a space very similar to what you're describing, where basically the positional audio, you can have little pocket conversations. You're basically just like a dot on a screen, but you can move your dot to be with certain people. So what has been happening throughout this conference is people are making those rooms and going and having conversations. So if they want to have a big conversation together, they can. If 2 people start talking and want to move off and have their own side conversation, they just move their little dot.
Yeah, and that's the way it should be. I mean, that's incredible.
And doesn't even need virtual reality. I mean, that's just a web browser for that, which I thought was interesting. I think the thing that's that's still kind of a barrier to having an all-day conference in VR is the fact that the headsets are hard to wear all day.
Yeah, true.
And I totally agree with that and also it's hard to take notes. Like
absolutely.
I was absolutely struggling because I was trying to take notes and stuff and write stuff or be on Twitter at the same time that I was in the conference, and I couldn't because I had the index like in a weird position on my face. And then if you put it too much on your forehead, then the lenses get dirty, so you can't put it on anymore. It's like
that is one thing that I really do like about the Cosmos Elite. I like the flip up. Interesting kind of transitioning back because we started talking about the release of the G2 today. They also did a 90-degree headband, but they did it differently. It's more like when you've modded the Oculus Quest with the Vive DAS, where you can lift the back of the headband up to quickly just hold it and put it on your face to see something. But I don't know. I like both versions really well, but I do got to say that I think that the flip up design should be standardized. I mean,
have you seen the 3D printed flip up Rift S?
I have. Yeah. I haven't done the mod yet because I only have one Rift S to play with.
Gotcha.
But it looks interesting.
It does.
I did the mod actually.
That's right. You did do it.
And I mean, I took it off after, so I feel like tells a lot about the experience.
Gotcha.
But I mean, like if you can make it like more sturdy, that would be awesome. And but the person who made it said, as like the first thing you said, it was like, this is just for devs because you want to work more on the PC than
because you want to be able to do that.
So it's not for gaming and stuff.
Right.
It's great to have the possibility, but of course it's not like the solution. Like it's better to go for Windows Mixed Reality or get the Cosmos if you really need that.
Eric has the most awesome old school collection, and one of the headsets in your collection, the Glastron, one version of that back in the 90s, I wanted it so freaking bad because you could literally like touch a button on the side and it would just become transmissive. Like you would see it go
That's
and the little
awesome.
shield would raise and then you could literally see
Yeah.
through it. And it was almost kind of like the first augmented reality because you would still see that VR image or that, little square that we called VR back in the day that would hang there, just kind of like in midair between me and you, but I would still see you and my environment through it.
Love these things.
Yeah, I'm telling you, dude. It looks futuristic, man.
It does.
Mm-hmm.
It's got the worst audio solution on earth.
Oh, I'm sure.
Just these little
Those
tiny
little buds.
earbuds. But I like actually, you can actually, there's like a holder inside to hold the headphone in place.
And Sony knows how to build stuff, by the way.
Absolutely. I'm using their
well, and I mean, I'm pleasant.
headphones.
I'm surprised that we haven't seen Sony do a PC-based VR. I mean, I would love to see them resurrect the Glastron series. I think that would be fantastic. I mean, obviously they've cornered the market on console. So I mean, take what you've learned there and then revive the Glastron line and bring back and become another player in the market, because the more players we have in the market, the better for all of us.
I mean, it's crazy though that if you look at how many people use the PSVR on PC, is the 1% of people on Steam use the PSVR, and that's insane for an headset that there's more PSVR than Cosmos on Steam.
I was just gonna say that.
That's crazy. Yeah.
I mean, it's a solid headset. It really is. I mean, obviously it's dated. It's showing its age, and I mean, for its true intent with the, with the PlayStation. I mean, the tracking was never really that good, but I don't know. I'm very interested to see the PSVR 2.
And I'm curious if it ends up being just a PlayStation console headset. I think you touched on something like, it could be more universal. One of the things that's been really pushed in this conference has been like the portability of XR viewers, which the Nreal Lite is an example of that. The Pico G3 is one of those. There's Shadow Creator, who I tweeted about earlier. They have a couple of headsets coming out. One of those is going to be an XR viewer. There's a lot of companies that are making these products that can work with a cell phone or anything really that has a USB connection. The Shadow Creator version was called the Gmo Air. They didn't really give a lot of specs about it, but they said it can be tethered to a PC or to a phone.
It really, from what I saw of that one, it kind of reminded me of the Nreal Lite. I mean, it was very similar in form factor, very similar in connection.
And on Tuesday at the Qualcomm conference, the DigiLens concepts that they showed, which were really just like putting cameras and fixtures in what looked like standard eyeglasses, what was a very similar concept too, where they said, this is an example of an XR viewer. So it doesn't have all of the components that you would see in a full standalone VR or HoloLens style device. But I think even that limited device, I mean, Don, you've got an Unreal Lite dev kit coming to you next week.
Monday, I should have it Monday.
One of the things that you'll be able to do with that immediately is pick it up and play back content on it and have that big screen. I don't know if at CES you got to try the screen thing, but you'll have that kind of...
I got to try at CES, well, in the video that I posted when you took me over there, and thank you for that.
Of course.
I got to try the standalone where they had it on the stand, and at one point they did show like how video is going to work on that, and then I got to do the zombie game. So that's really all I've messed with. So definitely looking forward to that, though. It's going to be a different experience for me. I mean, I've always the first time I saw augmented reality was when you took me over to the Unreal booth at CES.
Oh, so was your first experience with them?
That was my very first
Absolutely.
experience with augmented reality, was with In Real Light, and
Cool.
so I'm really interested to dive into that developer kit. When it gets here on Monday, obviously, get it set up and all that. But I've always been kind of a novice developer. I mean, I can't code to save my life. But I did enough to create a couple of worlds and get them uploaded to VR chat, and to kind of create my own little thing in Unity where I can put on my headset and run around and see my own creation. So I think it's going to be interesting to try to learn the basics of development. And you were telling me, Eric, there was something new going on with Unity that's going to make that easier.
Yes. So Wednesday, they actually announced that this coming Monday, perfect timing for you.
Yeah.
Unity Mars is coming out, and Mars stands for Mixed and Augmented Reality Studio.
Fantastic.
And it's actually it's one of a number of ways to make mixed reality development easier.
Okay.
There have been so many different solutions shown this week. It's been crazy. I think that's the one that seems the most adaptable for someone like me. I also have novice Unity experience, so it's something like it's another piece of Unity as opposed to going and pulling into another tool. Unity is also very free, unless
love the free.
Unless you make a lot of money off of the title. They don't really come at you and say, "Hey, pay for a pro subscription." Whereas some of these other applications, it's like you get a 7 or a 14 or a 30-day trial, and then you have to start paying subscription fees and things of that nature. I don't know what the costs of any of them are, but that makes it less enticing to me. And some of them also seem very simplistic. But there's been a lot of companies. There's one called Eighth Wall. There's one called Metaverse with no E, so VRSE. There were probably 10 other companies that were sharing their drag and drop or blueprint or JavaScript or like you name it. There's all different like ways to make development for augmented reality easier. But yeah, I'm actually excited to. I was working on an app for the Unreal Light that I know for sure does not work on it at the current in its current state. But I'm actually excited to see if I can pull that into Mars and mess with it before my kit arrives, which should be sometime in the next month or so as well. Because if Mars makes it easier, I might be able to add more to what I'm doing.
Right. Yeah.
And there's a couple of other headsets that they actually announced as well. The XR Space Mova. I don't know if you guys saw that one. It's from the guy that used to be in charge at HTC's company. He moved on and created XR Space.
It was one of the founders, actually.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I thought he was one of the founders. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's exciting to see the concept that they have, which is they're trying to build a device that makes VR more social. There are no controllers. I think they're not even.
There's a
planning
clicker.
to. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, I thought there was like a single point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Single
Like the
purpose.
Oculus
But
Go.
not-
like a,
yeah, but
I
not
call
the
it
hand
clicker
controllers, is what
because,
I'm saying.
Yeah,
But it's just more
it's
of
just-
a yes,
yeah,
no.
yeah,
yeah, clicker.
yeah. It's
Clicker, yeah.
it's like the old Oculus remote essentially.
Mhm. Exactly.
But there's no hand controllers is what I meant. And they really want you to express and take actions with your hands almost exclusively. So I'm curious to see what that actually does. I mean, they had some video clips of playing basketball and a couple of other things with it, but it's kind of one of those things where it's like I can do that with my Quest.
Yeah.
And it's not really something that I really want to be that engaged in. I kind of still want those hand controllers at this point.
Well,
I mean, I think Oh, sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Terry. Well, I was just going to say, I just jumped back into my Quest for the first time since hand tracking dropped the other night. And it's good. It is good, but I can't see it as my only means of control at this point, because we're still in those early days. And really, as somebody who played extensively with the leap motion stuff, Ultra Leap now, back in the day, and it's still, I can't put my hands out here, you know, it's not going to see them. You know, it's just until they crack and another thing I noticed is if I put my hands too far forward, it couldn't see them on the Quest. So, you know, the Quest right now being the gold standard of hand tracking out there, I mean, I hope that what they're trying to create there has something better than that, if that's the only controller they're going to offer you.
I suspect it does. And the other thing is you have to consider the fact that the Quest is running on fairly old chipset.
This is true. I mean, this is the new Qualcomm.
The MOVA though is just one generation over. Is the 845 instead. So it's not that much more powerful, because the jump from the 35 to the 45 was more about like power consumption, if I remember right. Of course, there was a bump in GPU power. Mostly, but mostly was because they moved to 7 nanometer, maybe there, something like that. So less power. But what concerned me about that demo was actually the fact that it wasn't in tracking. It was the same thing that we saw with the Vive Focus, for example. That is just end gestures.
Yes.
So that's where things get a little complicated on a way. It gets confusing for the regular user, because like a person expect to actually use their hands. Instead, you're just doing like
bingo,
hi, and your avatar is going to do like this. So I don't know. To me, it's important to see all these headsets coming out, because I feel like it's great because it creates a market and competition. But at the same time, I don't think that that is going to ever arrive successfully here in the States.
I agree.
They're starting from Taiwan at the end of the year, and I'm pretty sure I was at a Qualcomm presentation, so they talked about it, they introduced it there, and they said it that it's not even sure it's going to arrive outside Taiwan. So you know, the Asian market goes nuts for this stuff. And they're really like good in creating markets. For us, we're very picky over here, because we have the tracking, we want the real and tracking. But if I get too far, as you said, Don, like if you get too far, it's not good enough. We want the like good enough. They're a little more open-minded on these things. We want like perfection, and we are so far that is not going to be the product that solves it. But I'm pretty sure people are going to go nuts for this Movado. I don't know how they call it.
I will say one thing though, okay? So like, and I haven't gotten a chance to play with it outside of CES, but when I was at CES, I got a chance to play with the Ultra Leap tracking module for the Pimax. And they have the full field of view. So that in itself changes the game a little bit, because you don't lose your hands if you go off script, so to speak. I mean, you don't have to constantly hold your hands in front of you like you're locked like this. Exactly, like T-Rex. Exactly. Yeah, perfectly. Yeah. So, but it still didn't have that, you know, forward, the above motion. So, I mean, my point is if we are going to get into, and I know that headset is specifically, you know, more or less social, but obviously people are going to want to play games. And if you're going to try to game with it, I'm still not 100% convinced on the hand tracking as a controller thing.
And I don't think it's really intended for games so much.
Yeah, and that's why I said, I mean, that headset is not. That headset is intended for social. I just, in general, because we're starting to see the first games come out with hand tracking for the Quest. You know, I've played a couple of them. They're neat, but I still would prefer to have my controllers. I'm just old school like that.
Yeah, I agree, though, the Movada, the like social world that they're building, which is also I think going to be what they tie in their marketplace to. It is going to be another closed marketplace. Like you you may be able to sideload some stuff, but you're not going to get access to Steam and things directly from it.
Right.
But I feel like the idea there is more to create like a Second Life stuff.
Yes, exactly.
Because they talked about having business in there. They can
Yep.
sell stuff, and so like you can go to stores and buy your things, or like
Right.
sell your things if you go and open a store. So that's very interesting on that, because actually the project of Second Life in VR failed.
Yeah.
Just recently.
Sensor, right? Yeah.
Yeah, Sensor.
Yeah.
And so now maybe they're gonna actually port Second Life to it, but I really didn't know that Second Life was still a thing until I saw yesterday the presentation of that lady
Yes.
during the that was talking about their job or something. Second Life, I didn't know was a thing. I'm kind of glad that people still try this stuff, are still trying to create like this metaverse in a real way. But
No,
I
mean, that's how we get to the Oasis, guys. I mean, seriously. I mean, we're getting there. I mean, so you're seeing very, very interesting things go on. I had the highest hopes for VR chat, and in some ways I still do. I mean, it is the closest thing that we have right now to a metaverse, but it's just I can't be in there for more than 10 minutes without wanting to retch and leave. But
there's some promising stuff out there.
Yes.
Engage, I don't know if you guys have tried that one yet, is a pretty good platform. It's fairly professional. There are conference rooms and amphitheaters and things of that nature. So if you're doing something like a expo or a conference, I feel like it's a more practical application for that. If you're doing business presentations or graduations, things like that, where you have a large group of people together, it's a lot more organized, or you can add restrictions to it. So you can actually lock people into seats if you want them to be seated watching your presentation and things of that nature, or you can make it as free roam as you want as well.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Fair enough. But the interesting thing that I've seen recently, I don't do social VR all that much until recently. But again, I didn't know anything about Second Life. I didn't know anything about Minecraft. I didn't know anything about a lot of these things that have been around for 10, 15 years. And there's this huge resurgence because we're all sitting at home right now.
Right.
How do we connect, and how do we really foster relationships nowadays? And they said that actually within the last 3 months, Second Life has actually grown by 50% again. Just within the last 3 months.
Wow.
So Second Life has taken on another life, whereas Sansar kind of never really took off. They did spin it off to another, I don't really know if it's really a separate company, with people that seem to be friends with the people that were running Second Life. So I'm sure we'll see a retooled version of Sansar if Sansar doesn't, like, if Sansar dies, it'll probably come back as something else. I think right now it's kind of just in the state that it's in, and that's what you can do. But I think,
I feel like the problem with Sensor was also the fact that it was so heavy on like the PC. Like it was impossible to run. It's like, you can't like do something like that and like ask for people like to melt their PC while you're using it. It's like just nonsense. But talking about apps of this type, I actually loved Spatial. That is is a new one. It's gonna arrive in the Quest. Now is in beta, like, so you can sideload it, of course, if you are like in contact with them. And it's super cool because something that I found very nice compared to like Altspace, for example, is that you can have your face in VR. So you could actually on the website, you can do it right now. If you go on their website, there's the part where you can create your avatar. You just upload like a selfie or something like that, and it's gonna create your 3D avatar with your face.
That's awesome.
It's pretty funny because many times like they mess up big time, but I mean, if you're there for a laugh, it's perfect. You create 2 or 3 avatars, but then like when you're in there, you actually have your face. So when you connect with a person, you can actually recognize that person in reality. So when I was in the event, I could recognize the guy from CNET, for example.
Okay.
There were the guys from Upload VR, the guys from Road to VR, and I could see they were them, and they could see that it was me. So it's very cool, because there I really felt like we were there. Instead, with Outspace, like you have like, you know, these avatars are really,
The robots and
they're
I'm
representing
surprised that they've never
nobody.
expanded their avatars. I
Exactly.
mean, even since the beginning. So
I mean, Alex Kipman is one, and that's it.
yeah, that's it.
Yeah, and his is still the same kind of cartoony character, blocky character as everybody else has as well.
Yeah.
I mean, it just looks a little bit more like him.
It looks very cartoonish in reality. So yeah.
So back to Augmented World Expo for a couple more minutes. They had a presentation on the LynxR, which was revealed earlier this year at SPIE, SPIE, here in San Francisco. And that headset, I thought, had a lot of promise. It was the first one that they said, this is going to release with the XR2. And I kind of have a little bit more mixed feelings after the presentation that was given at AWE, because it feels like maybe they went back and they rethought things on the device itself. They talked about how there's going to be a lot of more surprises coming in August about it. I'm hoping that those surprises are positive things and not like scaled back changes. And the reason I'm a little hesitant about it is really because, you know, again, the world has changed a bit. And sometimes that means that tooling and manufacturing and prototyping have also kind of fallen to the wayside.
Yeah.
And it sounded like it went from a device that they were really proud of to a device that they're like, now they're talking about how it's going to be very modular and you'll be able to experiment with it. And it's really going to be for researchers and things of that nature, as opposed to really giving a vision statement around enterprise.
I was going to say, that's the enterprise speak that's going on there.
Yeah, so I'm
trying to find a niche.
Yeah, but I have reservation, but I am still, again, it's another one of those devices that if it was in person, I would have certainly been in line to try it out, because it might be something pretty cool. It's another device that they're saying is going to support third-party controllers. They're not going to ship with controllers. They are going to have hand tracking of some form. They didn't really say what type of hand tracking. But it sounds like we'll get more information on that one sometime in August.
Do we have a price?
There's a price on the website. I believe it's around $1,400 or $1,500.
Wow.
And that's for the early dev kit type.
I mean, though,
version.
you said it, like the word has changed a lot. Like in this period, we had the Oculus Quest for Business that is now out for $1,000, and there's so many like tools for devs to use with that. Like it's the perfection for them. There's the Pico, the Neo 2, the Neo 2i that is cheaper and has a eye tracking at $800 with a Snapdragon 845. It's like that is an awesome piece of hardware, and for that price you can also have eye tracking, something that you don't have with the Lynx.
Right.
And I don't know how they expect to move completely. Like also in the Pico you have the controllers, by the way.
Right. Yeah, I was going to say Pico comes with the controllers. Yeah.
It's hard. I feel like yes, probably they need to find a little niche because they need to find people to sell it. I was very excited by their lenses technology, though.
Yeah, the lenses
with the
still look good.
presentation. Very interested with that. I really hope they're gonna ship it, but lately I'm losing faith on any Kickstarter or stuff in VR because most of the time they go like nowhere, unfortunately. Like,
and it actually kind of reminded me, there was a company back in the kind of cardboard, now we're going to make a plastic cardboard days, called Seymour. I don't know if any of you remember that.
Yeah,
they had a huge Kickstarter, and I backed it initially, and then about halfway through the Kickstarter, the phrasing of things started to change, and then I started to have doubts, and I pulled out of it, which was the right thing to do, because they ended up shipping nothing except for, I think it was like a theater app that ended up coming to
Well,
Steam.
and that, I was just about to say, and their theater app is actually, back in the day, was one of the
Pretty
best
good.
theater
Yeah.
apps that you could get.
Yep.
But I'm like, where's the headset that was supposed to go with it?
Exactly.
You know? So
and that's kind of that's why I have reservations, because it started to sound a little bit like the speeches and the phrasing that they use there. Again, I could chalk it up to Stan was nervous when he was giving the presentation because he didn't have a crowd to respond to him. It could be a lot of things,
yeah.
but it's kind of going to be a wait and see for that product for sure. And speaking of prices, the other thing that I found in one of the presentations,
my lord,
was
are we going to talk about that now?
Yes, was the Vario headsets.
Okay, and first of all, I thought things like the Star VR and the X-Tal were like expensive until you showed me this, and I was like, what in the actual bleep?
Yeah. So I'm gonna switch gears for a second, and I'm gonna show my screen for this because you have to see it to believe it. Now these are enterprise marketed headsets.
They better be.
It's a given. They are enterprise marketed headsets, but the Vario headsets start at 4,995 euros for the Vario VR2. The Vario VR2 Pro is $5,995 and adds eye tracking. Actually, no, they both have eye tracking. I'm not sure really what the difference is between the two.
One says Pro.
I know. I've tried the Pro actually at the Ultraleap booth at CES, and it's a very high resolution in the center of the eye headset.
Yes.
And the hand tracking.
They use the, like, isn't it
It's like a little display? Yeah.
Like a very high res display in the center, surrounded by a lower res display. Like,
yes.
And I think NVIDIA was playing around with the cascading display a couple of years ago as well.
I think it's actually a reflection that they create with a prism. They project the micro display in the display, in the center of the display. So that's why, because if not, you will level the edges like a screen door effect, like around.
That's true.
So like they project it, and so it also covers the image from the other one. It's like a weird trick, but I don't know. I never played it. I just read a lot about it.
It's right. It's one of those headsets that literally, you know, for those of us who have been in the scene as long as all three of us have, I mean, you've seen this for 4 or 5 years now. You've heard of Vario. And it's like, okay. And then now it's like, wow, really?
And then, and I haven't even gotten to the top of the line model, the XR1 Developer Edition. Now this is the one that, this is the one that they're using in automobile demos. So, I mean, it is a bit high end for everyone, but 10,000 euros.
Yeah, euros.
Okay,
so
10,000 euros for a VR headset.
I mean, I have to say something though.
Yeah.
The demo that they did with that headset, it got me very, very excited.
Oh, I'm sure it did.
Like that person was driving the car on the road with the headset on. And she was like, so that means that the latency is great. That you have a good peripheral view.
For $11,088.95, I could buy the damn car.
Done. You forget the taxes.
No, I'm just messing with you, man. But no, yeah. So that I just did the conversion. So yeah, USD, that is $11,088.95.
Yeah.
I think I'll stick to my $400 headset. Really?
I think I stick to my own eyes to drive the car around.
Yeah.
For driving? Yeah, I'm not putting anything over my face to drive. I think we're good.
I'm not driving a car. You know, I thought about it like when the Nreal got here. I was like, oh, how cool would that be to like have like a little HUD app or something, or like, you know, but
What's interesting is my Camry, when we bought it, actually has like a little mirror that projects an image with a little like compass and things of that nature, which is interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's a great proof of concept. You know, you'd have to start somewhere. For us, like, of course, it's never going to make sense to spend $10,000.
No.
but not even $5,000. Like it's like a little too
Well,
much
I mean,
already.
we were
But
talking
you know,
before we
if
went
you're
live.
Audi, if you're Volvo,
Right.
who
Yeah, I was gonna
cares?
say
You know?
those guys, and if they're really going to get a use out of it, then it's gonna be pennies for them. I mean,
Mhm.
you know, and obviously we do think in terms of consumer headsets, you
Right.
know, a lot of times because we're not thinking of the, you know, the enterprise facing stuff. But you know, when you start to bridge the gap, is I think where I'm having trouble with my mindset on it is that okay, so like here soon we're gonna have for $1,200 you can get a 4K per eye headset with like super wide field of view and great tracking. So it comes down to dollars to donuts. What are those headsets really going to do of, you know, in this next cycle when we start to see the higher res consumer stuff coming out
Right.
that makes that price differential worth it,
And
you know?
another
So,
one of our peers, Thrill Seeker, actually posted out on Twitter today kind of a
mhm.
recommendation for standalone. His recommendation was the Quest.
Yeah.
For low end PC, recommendation was the Quest, because now you can just use the cable that comes with it and you have a
I
pretty
was
good
amazed
experience.
with that. I mean,
Exactly.
I literally, I wanted a longer cable. So I said, hey, what the heck? I'm not using that Agile VR thing.
Oh,
So I
okay.
grabbed the cable from it. It's a 5-meter USB 2
Yeah.
cable.
Yep.
And I actually enjoyed using my Quest, even on the USB 2 cable, more than my Rift S. I mean, it was just, the tracking was rock solid. And it was nice to have those deep blacks back, man. I mean, the screens looked incredible, and that was running on the 2.0. So
Yeah.
And when you have a USB cable, it's lighter, the cable.
Yeah.
exactly. I mean, the cable
And
that
it's
I'm
one
using
cable.
right now
Mhm.
is like, so well, this is it right here. It's like super thin. It's
Yeah.
like a little thin, tiny little cable, you
Yeah,
know.
it's awesome.
Don't even feel the weight. So I will say, out of every headset I own, I know we're talking about high-end headsets, but I want to show the Quest some love. That headset is quite possibly the most versatile little powerhouse in my entire collection. I mean, with
I
everything
mean,
that Oculus is
is
enabled
the
to
one
do.
that gives you the most for the money.
Best
That's
bang for your buck. Yeah. I mean, you know, and now that they are starting to toy around with even some basic AR stuff on it. So now you've got like basic AR capabilities with it, using the cameras on it. You've got the PC connection, you've got the take it anywhere standalone connection. So I mean, I would really like to see more manufacturers start to go in that direction of giving us an all-in-one device.
cost money.
I think it's coming in the next 3 years, though.
I think it is too.
Especially with the Qualcomm roadmap, what they were showing, because every headset we're using right now, let's be real, came from probably either a Qualcomm 820, 835,
Some sort of,
845, 855. Now they're starting to get into the XR1 and XR2s. It standalone VR at its heart, for the most part, is Qualcomm based. But you also still have room in the market for things like the Reverb G2, which I think is going to have, even if it doesn't get a huge consumer base, tethering that to a backpack PC is going to give you much better fidelity than what you've got right now in places like the Void and Dreamscape Immersive and things like that. Having that, what was it, 2180 by 2180 per eye?
2160 by 2160 per
Yeah,
eye. So
that's
yeah, I mean, you know, combined
huge.
resolution over 4K, and
Yeah.
and like I said, if you played with the original, I know Tyriel you have, but
Yeah, I have
the
too.
original Reverb, yeah, I mean, it is really crisp. I mean,
Yeah, but those lenses, like, come
no,
on.
the
Like,
lenses are what
yeah,
kill it.
how to
Yeah,
ruin an
so
headset. That's why I'm super excited for this one, because Valve made the lenses. So
Right.
yeah, and they're not even the lenses from the Index. It's not like they just repurposed those lenses.
No,
These are
exactly.
new
they're custom
lenses from
Yeah.
Valve. So really kind of the next generation of Index lenses, if you think about it that way.
But with less FOV.
Yeah,
with less
that-
FOV, right? Yeah,
the-
I mean, you're going
the-
down to, it's not, I wouldn't say it's less. I mean, 114, I would say what Rift
I
is
would
clocking in.
say
Well,
it's
it's not
less.
truly 114. I know
It's
that.
not 114.
Yeah.
I would
I
say
know.
it's one of, like I was saying
I was gonna
today
say,
on
you've
Twitter,
measured it,
is
haven't you?
104
Yeah.
when like a Rift S will be 100, and
Yeah.
that's it, because it is not white at all, the asset, unfortunately. But yeah, it's not 114, but they know it too, because like when we were talking, and I'm sure Don, you talked with them too the same way, that they were like, yeah, it's 114 calculated, but you know.
it's well, you know, it's like eye shape and distance and, you know, head shape, and, you know, there's a lot of
once you put a
factors that
face
go into
pad
that.
on, it might,
It was like thicker,
reduce that by
thinner
10
face
degrees.
pad, you know. So, you know, I mean, look, FOV's not everything though.
No.
I mean, and you know, and I'm look, everybody knows I love my Pimax headsets. I mean, I love that wide FOV because it is kind of a jaw-dropping moment the first time you see it. But clarity, I mean, sheer clarity of the image can make you forget about that in a heartbeat. Now, I will throw out the pitch because I am one of the few people that gets to use it on a daily basis. When the 8KX comes out, you know, it's going to be twice the price, but you're also going to get twice the experience because you're going to get that sheer clarity that you get with the Reverb. But
I can just use 2 reverbs, and then
there you go. Yeah, you could.
cheaper.
Yeah, you could. You know, grow a second pair of eyes over here on the side. But I was going to say, but then you also get that precise Steam VR tracking, because I am interested. I really want to see the 4-camera Windows mixed reality tracking before I lay judgment on that.
Yeah.
Because we all know, guys, I mean, you know, when the original Cosmos came out, I mean, how many cameras does that thing have on it? And it still couldn't really track.
Well, let's talk about it though, because like Windows Mixed Reality, like the tracking when it works is perfect.
Great.
No, when it works,
the problem is like you don't have much
it's
like
controller
FOV.
tracking though that's never been good. So
yeah, when you get out, but when you are in here, when you are in there, like rock solid, even when you like go, like it's just, I don't know what they did wrong with the Cosmos, but that is like really bad. But with Windows Mixed Reality, with just 2 cameras, they did miracles.
No,
and
I think it was amazing.
They created they created a standard, and I feel like with 4 cameras, going to be pretty good. Now, we don't have the one on the top.
Well, that's what I'm saying. We're going to have to see what happens when I go behind my back.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I'm playing Alex or something. I want to reach behind my back constantly.
Well, you can do it because of the velocity of the controller.
But I also don't want to see it stick either. You know,
so
that was one thing. That Windows Mixed Reality had great tracking, but it was one of the worst for the time to release position when your hands would stick. They would take longer to come back to, you know, to where you were. So
I mean, they also invented it, so
they did. They did. Yeah, and like I said, like, I'm not knocking it.
We will not have the Rift Test tracking or the Quest tracking without them. So
what I was originally hoping for in the G2 was something akin to the Cosmos Elite, which was going to be the ability to have either Windows Mixed Reality tracking when you wanted it or Steam VR tracking. That, you know, because of the whole you know, collaboration with Valve, that's what I intentionally I was thinking it was going to be, you know, but it just didn't turn out that way.
I mean, you have the index for that, and
well, this is true. This is true.
I feel like they want to keep like separation.
They probably want to keep those eggs in that basket. Yeah.
I want to thank both of you for joining the show, having this conversation. Love talking to you guys. I will talk with you more every day, really.
Yeah, always do.
But thank you both for joining the show. Thanks to the folks watching. Again, this was a recap of kind of this week and this year so far. Remember, VR is not dead. It's forever. Thanks, everybody.
Ciao. Good night, guys.
It's okay. I see a lot of red right now. It's fine.
Let's say just
I got this really awesome high-tech Nreal shades.
Yeah,
don't really do anything.
Yeah. Those are stylish.
It's pretty cool the effect that it does with the background.
With the background. Yeah, I have this really terrible background that I keep dying into. So we'll cut that off too. But I just wanted, you know, bring back the memory of the other version of the show.
It's like your face is the only thing.
Yeah, just the only thing there. Yeah. So we'll kill that too before we actually get started in the conversation. But one of the things I wanted to say is thank you to both of you for joining. we've got a lot to talk about from really everything that's going on. I've got a lot of backgrounds apparently.
You do
All
have a
these
lot of backgrounds.
This is kind of crazy.
Oh,
Oh, there you
that's
go.
for
See,
Don.
yeah,
That's a good
there you go.
background, isn't it?
That's what I'm talking about.
Oh, sorry,
Oh,
sir.
there you go. The holodeck. Yeah,
Yeah,
holodeck
well,
always works.
this is different than the holodeck though. This is actually the Oculus World scene
Oh,
from the
look at
DK
this.
one.
Look at this. Oh, wow. I
Um,
have not seen that in
yeah.
a long while, my
You ever
friend.
seen one of these? This is the 3D Sky Duel.
Yep.
Yeah. I think you've got one of these.
Yep.
Yeah.
Got that over on Battle Chair over there.
One of our mutual friends here.
Caleb.
Mr. Caleb.
That's from World Cyber Games. I think he came in like 4th or 5th place, something like that.
It's the effort that counted.
Exactly. But now I'm going to remove the virtual background after all this. We'll actually get started with the actual show. If I can figure out how do you get rid of a virtual background once you've chosen one? Any idea?
I don't know. I mean, Caleb, that stare like your skull is pretty funny though.
It is actually. I kind of like it. Like
it's like you got a little Caleb on your shoulder.
yeah, I do.